Now we come to the presentation of the 2024 Dwight D. Eisenhower Medal for Leadership and Service. So let me introduce you, or more appropriately, reintroduce you to the creative artistry of the man we're honoring this evening. Sit back and remember.
I think we choose to be born, or we fit it to the times we're born into.
What secrets do you hold?
What's in those jars?
Dreams.
Life will not be contained. Life finds a way.
Movies are dreams, darling, but you never forget. You know how to fly, don't you?
No.
I like Ike.
Stop chasing me.
I can't stop.
Don't do this. Don't run.
Everybody runs.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Shall we stop this bleeding?
We have to be the check on their power. If we don't hold them accountable, I mean, my God, who will? What's a person worth?
No. What's one worth to you?
We're supposed to be righteous. I lose that. That's everything. That's my soul. Earn this.
Somebody actually agreed to follow that. It's Secretary Gates. Come on back to the podium.
This is actually a pretty humbling experience for me. I've worked for 8 presidents. I've led CIA, the Department of Defense, but I don't think I've ever been as humbled as I am tonight. because this is a man I admire immensely. And I will tell you, this is a man American veterans admire immensely. For more than 3 decades, the Eisenhower Fellowship's Board of Trustees has awarded the annual Dwight D. Eisenhower Medal for Distinguished Leadership and Service to prominent global leaders who exemplify President Eisenhower's commitment to peace, prosperity, and enhancing international understanding. Few people embody President Eisenhower's ideals in their life's work more than Steven Spielberg. He has used the magic of movies to present the face of an open-hearted America to the world, helping build bridges of trust and understanding across borders and cultures. Many of his iconic films and creative productions resonate with their relevance to the namesake of our organization, Dwight D. Eisenhower. Saving Private Ryan, taking the world to the D-Day invasion of Normandy that General Eisenhower commanded. Band of Brothers, the Stephen Ambrose tale of the inspiring story of grit and sacrifice of the 101st Airborne Division from Normandy to the Battle of the Bulge in Normandy and the eventual conquest of Germany under Ike's supreme command. Masters of the Air, the harrowing tale of the courageous pilots and crews of the 100th Bomb Group of the 8th Army Air Force, based in wartime England under Eisenhower's command. Schindler's List, about the horror of the Nazi death camps that Eisenhower's forces liberated, and Eisenhower insisted on bringing the media to see to make sure that nobody ever forgot what actually really happened during the Holocaust. Bridge of Spies, telling the little-known tale of the aftermath of the shoot-down of U.S. U-2 pilot Gary Powers under Eisenhower's watch in the Eisenhower, and I would have to just say, Stephen, I have a little familiarity with the Gleinicke Bridge in Berlin. Many of his other films also link us to him less directly in their powerful depictions of the burdens of leadership and moral struggles with which Eisenhower wrestled, from Lincoln and Munich to Armistead and The Color Purple. The latter two revolved around the unspeakable sin of slavery, whose terrible legacy Eisenhower confronted as president by sending the 101st Airborne Division of the U.S. Army to Little Rock to enforce the constitutional rights of African American students to attend an illegally segregated all-white high school. The son of a World War II U.S. Army veteran, Air Force veteran, and the recipient of numerous awards, countless awards, I should say, over his 6-decade career, Stephen has devoted much of his time and resources to philanthropic purposes. After directing Schindler's List, he used all his profits from the film to found what is known today as the USC Shoah Foundation, the Institute for Visual History and Education, a nonprofit organization dedicated to preserving Jewish memory that has recorded more than 55,000 stories of survivors and witnesses of the Holocaust and other genocides. In 2021, Stephen and his wife, Kate Capshaw, launched the Heartland Foundation, a philanthropic fund to build a more just, equitable, and connected America. Heartland is founded on the belief that creating a better shared future for our country calls for relationships that cross divides and the moral imagination of what's possible. The foundation focuses on building a shared democracy, telling an honest and generative narrative about the United States, and fostering a future of accompaniment. In his life work, Stephen has honored the enduring vision of President Eisenhower and reflected the spirit and ethos of this organization that bears the president's name. So for his extraordinary artistic achievements in presenting America's epic story to the world his powerful work to preserve for future generations the history of the 20th century, bringing people together over film to advance international understanding. I am proud to present the 2024 Dwight D. Eisenhower Medal for Leadership and Service to Steven Spielberg. I'd like to invite Steven to the stage.
Thank you. That's nice. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. I wonder if I could shower with this. It's beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Gates and George DeLama and everyone at the Eisenhower Fellowship. I've lost my voice talking to so many of you tonight. Forgive me. I'm deeply honored to be with you all and with the remarkable past and present Eisenhower Fellows who are in attendance. I can't think of any event I've attended that's brought together so much of what's important to me personally, starting with leadership and service, as embodied by Dwight D. Eisenhower, a leader of soldiers and citizens in war and in peace. And then there's this organization's commitment to creating a world more peaceful, prosperous, and just, which speaks to a faith in human progress that I share. And that we're gathered tonight at the Constitution Center is meaningful because my generation, the baby boomers, we were raised to embrace the U.S. Constitution. And finally, we're in Philadelphia, where American democracy was transformed from a multitude of dreams into an enduring system of government based on the rule of law. And that is a lot of stories packed into one night. But telling stories is what I love, I get to do. And I consider myself very lucky that my job allows me to explore my obsessions. When people come over to me and they either recognize me or they hear about me, they only want to talk about the sharks, the aliens, the dinosaurs, the archaeologists, but I've always been drawn to the drama of history, especially American history. I'm fascinated and profoundly moved by accounts of people who have fought to preserve liberty and equality. These stories of these heroes have given me hope in my work, and if I'm doing my work well enough, there's a way that I can share that hope with the audience, which is ultimately my goal. My dad, Arnold Spielberg, occupies a very special place in my personal Hall of Heroes. He was a communications chief, master sergeant, in a B-25 squadron in Burma during World War II. Dad was a gentle, humble man, and his stories about his service shaped me and never left me. My dad taught me by example that there's no greater reward than knowing that you've been of service. And I learned from him that true patriotism is the joy of being able to give something of yourself in return for all that you've been given. And since gratitude is the basis of patriotism, then self-awareness, not selfishness, is a main requirement of citizenship. And my mom and dad were first-generation Americans and children of Jewish immigrants, and all their lives, my mom and dad and my grandparents were aware of how much they owed to the blessings of American citizenship. They passed that awareness onto my sisters and me by always telling us the opposite of what most parents tell their kids. They said, be curious and not scared of strangers. Now, that was in the 1950s. I did not impart that wisdom on my children, but they did with us, and it stuck. From the moment I started making movies as a kid, I knew somehow that what I was trying to do related to my family's legacy. And even when my dad expressed dismay at a future movie director's dismal employment prospects, I knew that eventually he recognized that my focus on film was my version of being his son. And don't get me wrong, when I got my hands on my first 8mm movie camera, I was not filled with noble intentions or sentiments. I wasn't trying to change the world. I had found what my dad had first called a hobby was a hobby I guess got wildly out of control because I made all kinds of movies as a kid. But it was war movies that became means of understanding what my dad had taught me about courage and devotion and patriotism. In my career, I have used every war, including the Civil War, both World Wars, and the Cold War, as backdrops for several films, which Dr. Gates has already mentioned. I can hear my dad's voice, and I can hear his gentle commandment to me to always remember the past. If we don't know where we've been, how can we possibly know where we're going? Well, film is a means of remembering. It's not, thank God, our only means. There's history and there's journalism and there's public discourse. But when people in my business make movies that assist the world in remembering, that join in the fight against forgetting, I hope that we're entitled to feel that we have been of service. I also mention these films to illustrate that I hope that through the stories we have told in movies and television, we have done our part to keep history from fading from memory, whether it's drawing attention to the horrors of the Holocaust or the rise of authoritarianism and anti-Semitism in this century and abroad, in this country and abroad. Popular culture has the power to keep the past alive so future generations understand why we can still admire a leader like Eisenhower and why there are some parts of history that we must never repeat. It was General Eisenhower who insisted, as Dr. Gates mentioned, that photographers record the reality of the death camps. Of Buchenwald, he said, "The things I saw beggar description," and he wanted the world to forever know the evil that men had done. It was General Eisenhower who prepared a statement accepting full and complete responsibility in the event Operation Overlord, that what Winston Churchill had called the largest and most complicated operation in history, were to fail. It was General Eisenhower who forever took pains to remind the world that his own fame had been purchased by the blood of others. He was a hero with a profound sense of humility. He was a military man who did all he could to bring peace to the world. He was an American president who truly sought to put the common good ahead of personal and partisan interests. He was, in other words, the embodiment of his alma mater, West Point, and its motto, duty, honor, country. And next month, we celebrate the 80th anniversary of those landing on the beaches at Normandy. We will remember the remarkable genius who planned and supervised one of the most consequential campaigns in history so that democracy could prevail. And we will appreciate his service and be reminded that there is nothing more human than to be of service to others. We will remember that greatness is attainable through sacrifice, bravery, courage, and humanity. And we will remember what we have in common is much stronger than what tears us apart. And I will always remember this night, cherish this award, and appreciate the kindness you have shown to Master Sergeant Arnold Spielberg's son. Thank you very much. Thank you.